Today I fucked up by sending my fob brother-in-law to the hardware store to buy some elbow grease. This happened some years ago. My brother-in-law was still fairly new here in Canada. He bought an old chopper that needed some TLC and asked me for help. He was reading on the internet how to clean and polish the tank and frame, etc. It was raining out and we went into the garage to work. I asked him if he had everything we needed, at which he replied, yes. Oh, I have to run to the Home Depot for one more thing. The instructions said I'll need some elbow grease. Would they have it there? I looked at him with a smile, but, being the prankster that I am, I decided not to correct him and let him figure it out when he gets there and asks around. It'll make for a good laugh at dinner. So I said, oh yeah, just ask, they'll have it for sure. So Bill gets in his Beamer and off he goes. Home Depot is a 10-minute drive from the house. 5 minutes later I get a call from him. The ABS failed and the car slid into the ditch and hit a pole. Airbag also failed and the car hit a pole hard. Car was a write-off. He was okay, just a fat lip from his face hitting the steering wheel. He's an aggressive driver. It was raining out. His stupid car malfunctioned. These were all excuses I was making to make me feel better so that I wouldn't feel responsible for his accident. I decided that the best way would be to not tell him. Later that summer he came to me and said, did you know that elbow grease isn't really a thing? It just means physical effort. I looked at him surprised and said, really? Huh? And shrugged. TL, doctor, let my brother-in-law go to buy some elbow grease from the hardware store. He crashed his car on the way there in an unexpected prank gone wrong. Fob, Fallout Boy, fresh of the boat equals recent immigrant. Honestly, given that the airbag malfunctioned as well, you probably saved his life. If that accident had happened on a highway or at a busy intersection, he'd probably be dead. Fact that it was a single vehicle crash on what was probably a low-speed road saved him. I understand your feelings, but this really isn't a fuck up at all. He was driving around in a totally busted car and barely got hurt still, potentially just because he was doing that unnecessary trip. It just would have been a matter of time he got into a possibly far worse accident. Chances are you saved his life. These were all excuses I was making to make me feel better so that I wouldn't feel responsible for his accident. You aren't responsible for the accident though. It's not like you cut his brake line or something, he'd just crash going somewhere else. At least he wasn't badly injured this way. Who knows what kind of worse thing could have happened. 1. Not your fault. 2. The fact that the airbags malfunctioned in a wreck where he came out fine might have prevented something worse from happening. Today I fucked up trying to surprise my wife and leading her on to believe I was cheating. Me 22 meters, wife 22F, no kids. Also technically not today TIFU. A couple of edits at the end to clear some questions. She and I recently moved to a new country where she had to work. We decided she would work and I would take care of the house since she got paid pretty well. It was going well for a few months. I saw an advertisement for jingle writing. Jingles are small catchy tunes for advertisements, so I thought why not apply since this was something I've wanted to do for a long time and hadn't had the chance to do in my original country. I applied and I was to submit the jingle in a few days. Luckily I did get it. I then had to go to play the jingle for them and had to stay as the jingle was being filmed. So they decided to give me a time 3 hours per day and I decided to keep it from 1 to 4 as my wife was out from 10 AM to 5:30 in the evening. So everything goes the same for a month. I had got the paycheck a nice amount, around the 18th day, but decided to not cash it in until they finished filming the commercial. All throughout this I hadn't told my wife about this BC. I wanted her to be surprised at what happened. So the commercial filming ends and I decide to tell her about it today. I return home happily thinking I would surprise my wife and I open the door and there she is in tears. She tells me she knows that I've been cheating on her and starts to cry more. And I tell her that I've not been cheating. She asks me about how I've been out in the afternoons. I then ask her to sit down and then I explain everything that's been happening and about how I wanted to surprise her, and show her the check just as a proof of what I've been doing. She then hugs me and kisses me and says that some days ago she had come home a bit early, At the time I was out working. When I returned she asked me where I was and I had said that I had just gone for a drive. She then came home again at the same time some days later to again find me missing. That's when she started to get suspicious, so she just went back to work that day and didn't say anything as to not accuse me for something possibly coincidental. She did the same thing for a couple of days again but still didn't see me at home. She then discussed it with some friends of hers and they all told her that me cheating was a very plausible case. Some of them even told her to cheat on me, but she didn't do it as she wanted to talk with me before anything else happened, and thankfully I hadn't done anything bad and neither had she. She then cries a bit more, out of happiness this time. We then had sex and then later on I took her out for a nice romantic dinner. I'm not a Redditor but she said it would make a good story here. Too long didn't read. Decided to be a stay-at-home guy, found an opportunity for a job that I loved, got the job, less work hours, didn't tell wife to surprise her later. Wife comes home sometimes when I was working only to see I wasn't there. Tearfully asks me if I was cheating and I end up telling her what I've been doing. Edit: why does she get paid very good? She passed out from one of the top institutes in my country and that's why she got a really good job at 22. Why didn't I get one? I was never academically inclined. So Terry's not much scope for people like me in my country. Why did we get married? We've been together since we were 15, so we have a huge amount of trust and faith in each other. This wedding was just a small wedding so that I could go over to along with her where I could find something more suited to myself, as there are more opportunities. We'll have a real wedding in the future. Edit: I wasn't forced to stay for the filming. We recorded it in the studio. It's just that the directors asked me if I could stay as they valued my opinion. BC I was the one to write the jingle and I could chip in with ideas that could make the commercial better. I felt a bit flattered and I thought that I didn't have anything to do at home, so why not? Also I should have made it clear that, finding the job then applying to the end, altogether happened in 30 days. The filming didn't take that long. As for her friends, we can't completely cut them out since they are workplace friends and she still has to talk to them on a daily basis. I with my wife met them and they apologized to the both of us and I laughed it off. They all told her that me cheating was a very plausible case. Some of them even told her to cheat on me. New friends. Her friends that advised her to cheat on you are garbage, and should be cut out of her life. WTF is wrong with people? We then had sex and later on I took her out for a nice romantic dinner. Was not expecting that. Changed over to same pattern as op after being with fiancé for 8 years. No bloating and tiredness, 10/10ths. So they want to compound her feeling bad because she thinks you were cheating on her by advising her to have sex with someone else for revenge. That never works out well. These are not friends, certainly not ones I'd want to know. What kind of advice is, hey he cheated, you do it too? Ooh, dude, she needs to let those friends go. He could have sabotaged your marriage over stupid advice like this. Skeptical. Today I fucked up by being uncircumcised and not knowing what hygiene is. I won't bother with much of a content warning, since I already marked this as NSFW. Either way, be warned, there is quite a lot of information involving male genitalia. While this is a true today I fucked up, in that it indeed occurred just today, the actual fuck up had been going on for essentially my entire life. Too long didn't read, at the bottom. Also, English is my first language, but I am still bad at it and likely to make a ton of grammatical errors. Also I'm on PC, so terrible formatting is entirely my fault. For context, I am a male who, as you already likely realized from the title, is not circumcised. Now my father was circumcised, but I was not, so expectedly he didn't know a lot about hygiene for uncircumcised people, since he never experienced it himself. Thus, despite effectively conveying information about all other aspects of male hygiene to me, he never informed me that you are supposed to wash under the foreskin. You can probably tell where this is going. Similarly, while health class talked plenty about sex, they rarely ever talked about hygiene, at least for me. If other people had different classes, lucky you, with the exception of telling us to shower and wash our hands. So again, never was I told how to properly clean my nether regions. Now, so far you may think, How is this a fuck up if your lack of hygienic knowledge isn't your fault? And that's a fair point, except that at the same time as being ignorant, I was also stupid. Not only did I not know how to clean myself properly, I also hardly cleaned myself at all. I have the semi-fortunate trait of not smelling bad quickly if I don't shower frequently enough, so I would often only shower once or twice per week. I knew I probably should, but a seeming lack of necessity to shower, coupled with just enough stress and lack of motivation lead me to just shower whenever I became too itchy or began smelling. I am aware how disgusting that is, and I don't do that now, but that is the root cause of this fuck up. So then there came the worst day by far. I woke up and realized my room smelled like a dead body. At first I literally thought a mouse or other animal had gotten into my room and died. But soon I realized that the smell was not coming from the room. It was coming from me. Along with this, the usual occasional pain I had from under the foreskin of my penis. No, that is not normal, and yes, I assumed it was at the time, was dramatically worse as well. I immediately showered, and while doing so noticed a few pieces of a yellow-white substance on my foreskin. After some research, I realized it was smegma, and more research informed me that it could have indeed been what smelled so bad that I could smell it through my pants and my underwear. It was during this research that I realized you were supposed to wash under your foreskin, and also that you were supposed to be able to pull it back to expose the glands on the penis, and disturbingly, I could not at the time. That freaked me out a bit, but I decided that I would probably be fine if I just started showing every day and washing as much as I could actually get to, and perhaps it would eventually get back to a more healthy standard, and if not, I'd probably have to make a rather strange visit to the doctor. Fast forward to about 2 weeks later, earlier today, and I was taking a shower when suddenly I realized I can now move my foreskin back much further than I could before. Doing this, I discover the most horrifying thing my eyes have ever witnessed, behind perhaps a human corpse, which is that beneath my foreskin, my penis was practically made out of smegma. Warning that the following information may be disturbing. The buildup was so extreme that not only was it as hard as wood and stuck to the penis, it was practically merged into it. The entire lower half of my urethra was blocked by it. I honestly don't even know how I peed at all prior to today, and it left markings where it came off the penis. As far as I know, this stuff had been there for years, and due to a negligent and infrequent showering schedule, coupled with not knowing what the consequences of which could be, I had basically had a second foreskin made of smegma for years, or even most of my life. Thank God I was in the shower, because the smell must have been unimaginable had there not been water washing away the putrid stench. While I already mostly realized what the problem was a few weeks ago when I did some research, I never realized how incredibly severe it was until today. Now at least, I mostly know what I'm doing, but that was a horrific discovery combined with a realization of why showering is important. Too long didn't read, my father and health class failed me, and I unintentionally turned my penis into an oversensitive rock by building up an ungodly amount of smegma due to neglecting to shower more than once a week. I feel like we see these stories often here, lol. Why is this not covered at some point in a boy's life? Question mark. I grew up around horses, and sheath cleaning is part of regular grooming of male horses. I specifically remember my grandpa throwing a clump of horse smegma at my brother and saying something like, "Keep your pecker clean or this is what'll happen." We both turned a weird shade of green and were horrified, and that is all the information either of us ever needed on the subject. I guess my brother probably had the cleanest peen of any other school-aged boy.